and let's go ahead and get started. All right, thank you so much everyone for coming tonight. This is the information session for Albany Law School's online cybersecurity and data privacy program. So this includes the programs of LLM, Masters of Science of Legal Studies, and certificate program. The LLM program is designed for people who have a JD, or if you're international, a JD equivalent from an international law school. That might be an LLB or some alternative. If you are interested in the Masters of Science Legal Studies program, that is for those of you who have a bachelor's degree already. And if you are interested in the certificate, that can be either people who have a JD and also anyone who has a bachelor's degree. So that's what we're looking at. The lengths of the degrees are for the certificate program we have. That's a 9-credit program. So essentially you could just take 3 credit courses and then you'd have the certificate. The master's program is a 30-credit program, and the LLM program is a 24-credit program. So that's what we're looking at here for the online cybersecurity and data privacy programs. All of the classes are online for the cybersecurity program. So tonight we will be going over several different things relating to the cybersecurity and data privacy program. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion on getting Albany Law School, telling you a little bit about it. Going to have a discussion on the master's degrees and LM degrees in general, and then what are some unique advantages of taking classes online compared to being in a residential program. Then we'll get specific into the cybersecurity and data privacy program. Dean Haynes will be here. He is the director of the program and a professor in the program. And so he will describe for you the curriculum and the potential career outcomes from the program. I know many of you were interested in hearing about both of those things, and so he'll be here to discuss that. Then after that, then I'll come back and talk about some of the frequently asked questions as well, such as the tuition price, financial aid options, and how to apply to the program. At any point during this presentation, feel free to chat in, a question in the chat box. If you're on the phone, or if you prefer to speak in the mic at the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for any questions you might have about anything. So feel free to, like I say, either chat in during the presentation in the chat box, or speak in the microphone, or chat at the end of the presentation. So again, thanks so much for coming, everyone. And the first thing we always like to talk about is, why is Albany Law School a good choice? It was founded in 1851, and since that time has had a rich history of excellence and founded in a great tradition of being Albany Law Schools and the Capital Region's only law school. It was recently ranked in the top 20 of the most innovative law schools, and so that is naturally a great thing for us being an online program to be able to have that kind of mark and rank and credential. We have an alumni network of over 10,000 people. So this is not just in the Albany region or New York region or even the Northeast region. This is spread out throughout the country and even the world. And we have alums that are in all sorts of stages and all sources of our community. So that whether that's naturally lots of attorneys in all sorts of different fields, but also those who aren't attorneys in different ones. So for example, we have, as alums from our school, the governor, re-elected yesterday, is an Albany Law School graduate. We had President William McKinley as an alum. We have Justice Jackson of the Supreme Court, who was an alum of the school. And we have chair of the CBS's board, Dick Parsons, who's an alum. So as you see, 3 of the 4 just noted ones here, these are not attorney positions. So we have a rich history tradition of not just graduating attorneys from our school, but also people who end up making an impact on society through all sorts of means. So I think I always find that quite interesting. So why is this program, the Masters of Science Legal Studies or an LLM or certificate, why is this type of degree program a good move? So what makes it a valuable proposition? So here's a few different things that benefits that this type of degree offers. So first, you can learn management fundamentals and build a framework for problem solving through the courses. All of the materials and the assignments and everything is built for engagement. And so you will be actively problem solving inside your classes by engaging with the materials and the professors and each other on a regular basis. Secondly, there's an opportunity to interact with and learn from classmates from diverse industries and functional areas. Third, the class schedule that you'll have is designed for immediate application of learning. And that's something that we find particularly important in this program, in this online program, because so many of our students are working professionals in our program, and everyone's looking for something that they can apply to their job or a job they're looking for immediately from day one. And so that's what we focus on in our classes, and so that's how we've built them. Next is the strengthen and deepen management and leadership skills. And then finally, to build a broader international perspective. So whether you're in your current job or looking for a job in the field, having not just the perspective of, you know, what's right in front of you. Some people have maybe blinders on as far as what they're looking at, but being able to broaden that perspective out. So not just domestic necessarily, but international, to see, because a lot of time businesses will have, you know, international ramifications to their actions, both in the cybersecurity and the data privacy fields. So that's something that our program always has an eye towards. So why is an online program at Albany Law School a good choice? Well, we focus our entire program on being flexible and convenient to fit your schedule. So there isn't, in our online classes, there's not any one time, one place that you're required to be. You're able to do the work on your schedule. Of course, we, like any program would, we require you to do work on a regular, continuous basis on a weekly manner. But when you do that work is entirely on your schedule, and so it's built for a working professional. If you do a normal course load, quote unquote, you can expect to do about an average of about 18 to 20 hours per week in the program. And so that's kind of what you can expect and look to carve out at any point throughout the week. Secondly, there's a customized curriculum that's delivered in integrated modules that are taught by senior faculty with real world and academic experience. And last, and this is sometimes people's favorite part, is you can potentially graduate in a year. And so that's, a lot of people are looking to add value and advance their career quickly and want to just be able to implement it immediately. And so that's an attractive option for some people to be able to get in, learn a lot of valuable information, and then graduate quickly so they can advance their degree in that way. Other people prefer to spread it out over 2 or even 2.5 years, and that's perfectly fine too. We've built our curriculum and degree with that in mind, and built for you to be able to fit it in to whatever it is you're looking for as an outcome. So now we'll talk specifically about why cybersecurity and data privacy at Albany Law School. So I know Dean Haynes was actually traveling today, so I'm going to see if he's here. Dean Haynes, are you on the phone?
I am. Are you able to hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear. Thanks. Go ahead.
Great. And so what exactly is what are you talking about right now?
Absolutely.
So,
definitely. So if you could talk specifically about a little bit about the curriculum that's offered and who are the faculty members, and then third and finally, why is it a great time to study cybersecurity and data privacy today?
Okay, got it. Let me see if I can do something about this echo. Okay. I'm still hearing an echo. Are you hearing an echo on your end?
Nope, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, great. So the big picture is this. Nationwide, there is a shortage of qualified professionals with an expertise in cybersecurity and data privacy. Now, the vast bulk of those professionals are IT professionals, so that's the biggest part of the market. The program that we have at Albany Law School is not designed to create IT professionals. Instead, our program helps you fit into a different part of the market. It's those that are doing law and policy. And that's why having this program at a law school is so beneficial to both non-lawyers and lawyers. So the story I like to tell is this. 20 years ago or so, when I was a young officer in the Air Force, our nation's focus on cybersecurity was really on network attack. So we're looking at ways of weaponizing various hacking tools in order to suppress our adversaries' military forces. Then we decided or concluded fairly quickly that the United States is actually far more vulnerable to cyber attack than any other country in the world. And so our focus shifted to cyber defense and to securing our critical infrastructure in particular. Then, in the past couple of years, there's been a third change or evolution in our national focus. We've realized that no matter how careful we are in constructing cyber walls and barricades and intrusion detection systems, that the adversaries will eventually get through. It's not a matter of if, but when. And it's not a matter of will it be one time, but how many times. So this focus has now shifted to disaster response and recovery. It's how do you deal with a data breach? How do you respond to a cyber attack? And these questions of response and really prevention are questions of policies and procedures. And so that's the part of the overall market this program is geared towards. So if you're looking to become someone who can configure a Cisco router or determine how best to set up a firewall, this is not the best program for you. But if you're someone who's interested in understanding what does a chief privacy officer need to understand about the Federal Trade Commission's enforcement actions, or the SEC's enforcement actions, or the New York State's Department of Financial Services regulations, if you want to understand these rules, these regulations, this is the right program for you, because they're taking the law and the policy and the industry best practices and the agency enforcement actions, and we're distilling all of that down into a very core element of what is the most important aspects of cyber. So this need, the need for people who can talk the language of regulations and policies and procedures, that's the need that we see right now. It's happening across a realm of industries. So if you are in finance, for example, there's a number of regulations around cybersecurity and data privacy, including the Graham-Blake-Riley Act and Sarbanes-Oxley, the New York State's Department of Financial Service regulations. Dodd-Frank is phased out, but there are indeed a number of other regulations that are still current and are still very important. We're seeing the SEC, we're seeing other Department of Treasury, other state and federal agencies regulating the financial industry and corporations in that area. If you're in healthcare and medicine, you have HIPAA, you have high-tech, you have a number of rules, regulations that impact healthcare and medicine. If you are doing business overseas, particularly within the European Union, the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is a major rule. It's impacting every company, and even companies that you may think don't do business in the EU. For example, New York State government is concerned about the fact that EU citizens interact with the United States government, and therefore there are regulations that impact the New York State government from the EU. So cyber law and privacy law is global. It's not just at the U.S. federal level or at the state level, but it's also other countries and other nations. And so having a good handle on that is important for every organization. I've emphasized businesses, law firms and banks and hospitals and insurance companies and corporations, but it's also important for state government entities and federal entities, as well as non-governmental organizations. So really, every organization has a very important role to play, and there's a need for people to fill those slots. So if you go to LinkedIn or if you go to any of the job sites, you'll see that there's a demand not just for the IT people in cybersecurity, but for the law and policy people, for privacy officers and analysts, for people who are good at compliance. So a lot of this is regulatory compliance. for people who are good at risk management and risk assessment. So all of these kinds of roles are things that are very important right now, and they're things that are not primarily IT focused, but are primarily focused on law and policy and procedures and regulations and compliance with the statutes and the rules that are being implemented at the state and federal level. So that's the first part. And I don't know, I think I missed one of your questions, Jason. What was the second or third question?
If you could talk to who are some of the faculty and how are they actively engaged in this topic area?
Great. So at Albany Law School, we have, I believe one of the slides Jason may have shown you was that we have over 33 full-time faculty and over 50 adjunct faculty. And so all of these faculty members have a combination of academic experience and real world experience. So I am a case in point. So I joined Albany Law School 3 years ago, coming from private law practice. Before that, I worked in the financial industry as a financial derivatives consultant. Before that, I ran my own company doing IT consulting. Before that, I was an Air Force officer in military intelligence. So I have kind of a broad-based industry background, but I also bring in legal practice and legal education with that as well. So other members of our faculty are people who are doing just IT now. Some people are doing just law and policy. Some are doing a hybrid of both, but they all have this background. And so on the academic side, one faculty member is Professor Robert Heverly. Professor Heverly teaches a cyberspace law class. So that's the class that kind of takes all of your first year law courses like contracts and torts and civil procedure and constitutional law. And it says, let's look at how these basic areas of the law interact with the internet. So what is contract law on the internet? What is criminal law on the internet? What is constitutional law on the internet? So First Amendment issues, free speech issues. What about cyberbullying? What about social media? So you look at the interaction, and that's that area. But Professor Heverly does more than simply look at the narrow area or broad, depending upon your perspective, of cyberspace law. He also has a class in drones. So he teaches with a class. So Albany Law School is an independent law school, so we're one of 14 across the country that's independent, but we have an affiliation with a number of other institutions. And so one of them is the State University of New York, SUNY Albany. So the University of Albany has an affiliation, and so Professor Heverly co-teaches a class in drone cybersecurity, in drone privacy, and drone surveillance with a faculty member at SUNY Albany, and they fly drones around. I am tightly connected with the dean for the University of Albany's College for Emergency Preparedness, Homeland Security, and Cybersecurity, the CEAC, or the Cyber College. And so Dean Griffin and I talk a lot about collaborating and about having our programs work together. So students enrolled at the University of Albany Cyber College can cross-enroll and cross-register for classes at our cyber program at Albany Law School. And similarly, students at Albany Law School can cross-register and cross-enroll into classes at the University of Albany. But all this collaboration means that we have faculty who are teaching classes in both areas. And so a faculty member like Robert Heverly does the cyberspace law class, but he is also teaching drones as an example. A second faculty member is Robert Weaver. And so Robert Weaver is a Chief Information Security Officer, a CISO, for a major company in the New York State region. And so what he is responsible for on a day-to-day basis is defending or making certain that he's in charge of a team of people who defend that company against cyber attacks. So he's looking at the actual technical, or he's in charge of people who are looking at the actual technical details, but he's also thinking about regulatory compliance. So he teaches our class in cybersecurity frameworks. And so there's a number of frameworks around the world that deal with how companies can show that they've done industry best practices around cybersecurity and data protection. For example, there's the International Standards Organization ISO standard 27001. That's for normally bigger or larger companies. That's a standard. There's another standard that's created by the U.S. federal government called the NIST framework, and the NIST 800 special publications. And so that's a second standard. In East Greenbush, New York, the Center for Internet Security has responsibility for the critical security controls around cybersecurity. And this is actually it's a global standard for cybersecurity. That's just 3 different standards. And so in the cyber frameworks class that Professor Weaver teaches, students will be looking at all of these different frameworks and actually apply them in the past to a real world client. We're now moving to a simulation so we can better control what you learn, but you will actually be doing a gap analysis. You'll actually be doing a security audit. You'll actually be figuring out how to identify the gaps and identify a solution, and then help the client make changes to their organization to comply with the standard. And so you'll be drawing the key elements from a variety of standards and then figuring out like what are the most important elements of all of this. So Professor Weaver, real world experience, does it on a daily basis, and it will help you get the practical experience of applying this to a real world problem. And so those are just 2 of our many faculty members. Diana Banks in the prior administration was a senior executive service member. She was one of the deputy secretaries, I think it was in the Department of Homeland Security, and she's now working for a large bank. She teaches our cybersecurity and public entities class. Professor Rick Cabello was formerly working as a senior IT professional in New York State government. He's now working for a private consulting company. He teaches cybersecurity and supply chain frameworks, but I can go on and on about how each of the different faculty members brings an incredible amount of expertise and experience. I can talk about our cyber warfare class, which has been taught by Professor Harry Wingo out of Washington, D.C. He's a department chair in the National Defense University, former Navy SEAL, former JAG, used to work for Google as in their general counsel's office. He taught cyber warfare. So across the board, we have a number of experts who are extremely knowledgeable and are eager to share their expertise with you. So I don't know if I got your questions, Jason. Are there any more questions? Or did I get them all?
That's perfect. Thanks so much. All right. So again, thanks to Dean Haynes for that excellent explanation of not just cybersecurity and data privacy, but also the faculty members and how they bring the class and bring the real world examples and real world experience to the curriculum, and that could greatly benefit you all. We also had a very recent graduate of our cybersecurity program who she's an attorney. She was able to add cybersecurity to her firm after graduating, and she's going to also be added onto the adjunct list as one of your professors as well. So that's even an alum from this very program. And so there's just a lot of opportunity for advancement inside of this program for our graduates, as created by so craftfully by Dean Haynes with all the talent that he's brought together for this program. So that's an example of what you can expect for the cybersecurity and data privacy program specifically. Now, one thing I want to talk about as far as what your student experience will look like when you're in the program is we're creating starting this summer, but it could be released a little bit earlier than that. But at the latest this summer is what we're going to call an online student center. And essentially, this is for all of our online students in our cybersecurity and data privacy program. And this will be a new online community for all of you. And essentially, you're all familiar with student centers at your college or your law school, a place for students to come and kind of coalesce and engage and connect with each other. So similarly here, we're creating an online student center, and this will include special online-only events and guest speakers in cybersecurity and data privacy. And we'll have skill building workshops, we'll have career service events for you all, and all sorts of different things for you to connect with faculty, with staff, with alums of the school and the program, and with fellow students. And I think it's just going to be a really exciting thing that'll be unique to Albany Law School and be part of our community, so that you all can not just have your experience of really learning and engaging in classes, but also in a great collaborative, fun online community through our online student center. So that'll be coming soon. Certainly, you'll have plenty of time to experience it within your stay, even if you start this January. So the most frequent questions that we get about the program are things like what's the total cost of the program. And so answering that one straight off, for the Masters of Science in Legal Studies and the LM program, the total costs for the tuition will come in a bit under $30,000. There is a partial scholarship that's potentially available for you all that you can ask us about through the graduate admissions at albanylaw.edu. And the certificate program, if you're starting the spring term, is going to have $1,000 per credit, and it's a 9-credit program, so that would be the cost for the certificate program. Now note, of course, that depending on when you start, the price might adjust a bit as tuition could adjust each year. We only know what the tuition is this year. So if you want to lock in this price and the potential scholarships that are available now, then January is the time to start. People like to also ask about financial aid options and payment options. So federal financial aid options are available for degree-seeking students. And for those who instead want to pay it all lump sum or whatnot, payment plans are also available if you want to spread out your payment over time instead of taking out federal financial aid. And of course, you can always just pay right up front as well. So those are some of the different payment options that are potentially available to you for this program. Another frequently asked question is how do I apply to the program? And for that, I'll send you all a link to the application page after this presentation is over. And all you need to do is go on there and fill out the application request form, and then you'll be emailed the links to the application page. If you're applying for the LLM program, you'll do it through LSAC. If you've been to law school, say in the last 15 years or so, you'll be familiar with LSAC because it's the same thing you applied to for your JD program. But that's where you'll go for the LLM program. If you're applying for the master's or the certificate program, then you'll follow the link that is in the email. But either way, just fill out that application request and we'll get you the directions on where to apply. Once you're there on the page, there's essentially 5 different things you'll need to complete the application. First is to fill out the application form that's there, basic demographic data and just some background information. Secondly, you'll submit your resume or CV as part of the application. Third, you'll submit a statement of interest. And so that is essentially, why are you interested in the program? What would make you a good student in the program? How will this program advance your career? And so that's kind of what we're looking at for your statement of interest. Fourth, 2 letters of reference from people who know you. And so a lot of time we get questions about that. Some people use, if you graduated law school or college somewhat recently, some people use professors. Most of our students are working professionals, so someone who knows you through your employment or whatnot is a perfect person for this type of thing. And so it can be anyone who can just professionally attest to your skills is great for those. And just so you know, before you enter into the application process, what we do is all you do is enter in their email address, their name and the email address, and then the system will email the reference person directly, and then that reference person will submit it directly through that email process, just so you know. And then finally, you'll have your official transcripts mailed to Albany Law School, and the address and all that kind of stuff is available through the email when you request the application. So that's that as far as the application process is concerned. And that's all the information that we wanted to present to you tonight. And please, now I'd just like to open the floor to anyone. Does anyone have any questions you want answered about anything to do with the program or the school? All right, so there is one question. So the question is, when are the next start dates? So that's a good question. So the next upcoming start date is in January, with the application deadline for that January start date is December 31st. And then we have regular start dates after that, but that's the next one coming up. And so if you ever have a question about the next start dates or application deadlines or whatnot, you can always email graduateadmissions@albanylaw.edu, and that'll be me responding to quickly to answer your questions. All right, great. If there's no further questions, thank you so much all for taking the time to come learn about our programs, and we hope to have you all join our community in January with the December 31st application deadline. So again, thanks so much for coming, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your night.